Tonight's episode of Chuntcast is brought to you by Koala Ink Studios. Tune in every Monday for a new episode of Quijibo and Harold on YouTube. Okie dokie. All right, so look, apparently the AAA game industry is dying. And I don't disagree. I actually agree with this take. And just from my own experience, I don't even really need to get into too far of the nitty gritty on this. I think everybody as a collective, I think just the general feeling is that AAA games are way too expensive now, right? There's too many games published. There's like thousands of games published a year, thousands and thousands of games published a year. There's not enough people and time to play every game that comes out, right? And when you have AAA games that are just stretching the hours for the sake of content and calling it valuable content and just filling a world with stuff that you just don't really need to do or care about, or it's pandering to audiences that aren't going to support that game anyway, right? And you wonder why it's falling apart, and the indie scene are picking the scraps from below and being successful off the corpse of the AAA industry. I'm playing more old games than ever. Well, I've got a wish list that I wait for game sales. I've got a game backlog that's going to take me forever across Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo that I haven't even gotten to yet. Yet they keep pumping out these games that expect you to have like 30 plus 40 plus 50 hours free or 100 hours, right, to pump into their game, and want to charge you $160 for it, right? Unfortunately, how can you do that? How can you put out, let's say there's 10 massive AAA games a year and they all cost $120 to $160 each for just the standard edition now, and the ultimate edition, right? Who's going to spend like $1,600 a year on 10 games or maybe 8 games? Who's going to do that? Honestly, who in their right mind, not me, right? Who in their right mind can afford to do that? I mean, that's reckless. Hey, look, unless you're doing really well in life, and hey, like when the game launches and it's, oh, there's the ultimate edition, $170. Cool, I'll do that. I saw a game edition for one of the wrestling games and one of those NBA games. It was $220, right? Who the hell? Like, you've got your whales out there. Again, you've got those people that's the one game that they play a year, and they go, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, $220. Well, I'm going to play this for the next 12 months. No big deal, right? To a point, I get that. But if even I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, what? My game that I buy for like $100 every year is now, doubled in price. What happened there? Oh, I'm going to have to second guess this hobby, right? There's so much wrong with it, right? But they're blaming us, right? They're blaming the players. They're blaming the audience. They're blaming the customer for not buying their games, right? And the audience of the masses aren't buying into the message that they're putting out there in all these games either, right? It's just not. I don't know why they haven't done a sharp turn sooner. Like, if there's ever a time where you need a knee-jerk reaction or whiplash, it's now. Like, when you're dumping $200 million plus into a game that is, pandering to an audience that just wants brownie points and what's the word? What's the word? Someone's going to be like, it's this word, John. What the hell? When you're clout, that's the one. Thank you for that person out there shouting at your screen. Yeah, they're just doing it for clout points, right? And the studios are pandering to these crowds on social media. The vocal minority is, oh, look how inclusive we are. Look at how concerned we are for the message, and right. But no one. And then when the game launches and no one buys it, okay, that studio is just done and crashed and folds up because the rest of the gaming sphere didn't support the game for obvious reasons, right? And there's no reason for games to be costing that much. It's insanity. When you've got indie studios that are doing near close to the same level with 20 people, 30 people, right? You don't need to, the budget shouldn't blow out that much. If it means you need to take a bit more time. So, I mean, look, I'm not sitting here like I know how to run a game studio. I'm just saying, like, what have you learned over the last 10 years of the game industry's failures, and why do you keep doing the same decisions? Why do you keep making the same choices and expecting a different result, right? Particularly in the live service game industry as well. Well, again, all the games, all the developers out there, or not the developers, all the publishers out there that put out a live service game want everybody to play their game all the time and have all the money. They want all the money, but so do all the other publishers out there. They want all of the money from the same people as well, and their time and retention. It just doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work. And if you remember growing up, well, maybe it's different for kids today, but man, when we grew up through, you know, Nintendo 64 or Super Nintendo or Mega Drive or PlayStation 1 or Mega Drive, did I say Mega Drive? You know, anyway, any other console that you grew up with and you didn't have an expendable income, and you were just relying on your parents or your allowance to buy one game every quarter or something like that you saved up for, or a birthday or Christmas, and that was it, you know, and that game became it for you, right? Or you went and rented it out and took it home and you rented it every weekend, or whatever it is. Or game libraries themselves are significantly smaller, right? Like if you look at or maybe not the PlayStation, but Nintendo 64, for argument's sake, right, I'm pretty sure that game library was sub 500 games, right? I don't think it was that much, right? So the selection of games was smaller, so you had more opportunity to put games out. Or again, like I get publishing now is vastly different in this digital world that we're in now, and cartridges are so much more expensive, and they still remain. But even to the other consoles like PlayStation, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast, like the game libraries were significantly smaller, where game consoles now, you'll have libraries of thousands of games that will never get played or will never get seen by certain groups of people, or just never get seen at all, right? So I don't blame this conversation happening now of an impending game industry crash, right? Another one, right? There's only so much bandwidth, and everything's pushed down the same throats of the same people, and you can't just keep shoving it and shoving it and shoving it, hoping you're going to have the same success all the time. It's unreal, mate. Unreal. Like, just for myself, right? I'm a long time gamer. I've been playing games since the Sega Mega Drive back in the day as our first console. So like, I know that I have had the time to play games. And I know the games that I want to play, right? But like my time is significantly different now as an adult. And kids that are playing games now are playing games for different reasons than we were growing up. And so the people that are supporting these industries now for the games that we grew up on, we're very selective with what we play. Whereas I think I could say pretty confidently that generations younger than myself are playing games that probably their favorite streamer is playing, or that the kid in the playground mentioned, or they just want to be in with the click group playing the same game and whatever else. And it's usually something that's free to play, you know, a game service that's pay to play sometimes, or, you know, microtransactions, but there's enough content there to play for free, right? So these kids have grown up in an era with a lot of free to play games, so they don't see the value in buying games or paying for them, right? So there's your problem as well. When you foster an industry that supports free to play and hoping that people are going to start throwing money at the additions and the expansions and the DLC and the microtransactions, when you have a whole generation that doesn't see the value in buying or putting money down on a game, because why should I? Because I can just play the same game for free. Well, where do you go from there, right? And particularly in an industry now or an economy that everything's really expensive. People can't afford those luxuries anymore, or as much as they did. And the ones that they can afford, they're very, very selective now when they buy them or put money down on something. And here we are, right? They've got to get smarter on what they're doing. They've got to get away from pandering to the small audiences, the vocal minority, and just start ignoring them altogether if they want to succeed and survive. Unfortunately, that's the end of it. I'm sorry to say, but if you want to run a business into the ground, then you listen to the people who are not going to support you anyway, right? And then don't start sitting there going with your hands on your hips going, what happened? What happened? We were doing the popular thing, the trend, and pandering to a certain group, but they didn't turn up though. So So did we do wrong there? I mean, yes, you did, right? So if you pander, I'll use the word pander because fuck it, you know, if you pander to the right audience, they will turn up. There's always people looking for that next game, right? They swing the pendulum back the other way for a while and get some success there. You'll have more in this space with this amount of people buying your game than this amount of people that might buy your game. Honestly, it's the same thing as Disney and all those other movie studios that are putting out stuff that the audience that they're pandering to do not turn up for. I've been saying this for years, as have a lot of other people as well, just from observations and, oh, another box office failure. Oh, another game studio closure. I wonder why, right? Go figure. Anyway, I just thought this was funny. That's half the reason I wanted to talk about it, because it's like, well, duh. Right? I've been talking to people like this about this kind of concern for years now. And, you know, I've always been against the live service games. I don't like them. I honestly don't. I like co-op games. I like games that I can play with people online, you know, from a co-op perspective, you know, playing like a 2-player or 4-player game or whatever it is, but that doesn't need to be a live service, right? It's, you know, you can play peer-to-peer or something or whatever it is, couch co-op, whatever, right? But something that needs and is predatory on your time and your availability and your money shouldn't exist. That should be the last thing the industry should be doing, right? And particularly now, they need to now double down on quality games, quality stories, quality gameplay. And Nintendo is in the bad books at the moment because of Metroid Prime 4, where they've locked a certain feature in the game behind an amiibo again. Right, and I don't know why they do that. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So you want to spend $80 on a game and then another $30 on the amiibo, just so you can listen to music while you're driving around on a damn motorcycle in a desert. Like, what the hell, Nintendo? Like, this is the kind of stuff that makes everybody go, this hobby sucks. It's too expensive, right? And then nickel and diming us all the time, and it makes you wonder why there's record levels of people playing older games and getting emulation machines and whatever else they need to do, sail the high seas, right? You wonder why the people aren't playing modern games anymore. It's just hilarious. Like, but everybody else can see it except them. And I say them, just the broader industry people, the people that are in the boardrooms, the people that are like, why are we losing money all the time, right? It's just, come on. You just want to go in there and shake them, grab them by the shirt, scruff them, go, what the hell are you doing, mate? Like, well, come on. You know, turn your shit around. Pull your pants up and go out and do something real. My God. Anyway, I've had a bit on my mind. So I've just come in here and had a bit of massive vent session, a bit of pent-up frustration of some of these news articles that are coming out and just observations over time. And now that I've got a bit of time aside from Quijibo and Harold, I'm just doing a video, and we'll run it from here. And anyway, let me know if I'm off the wall, and probably am. But if I'm off the mark as well, mate, tell me. Like, do you disagree with my perspective here? Like, do you enjoy how things are? Like, are you happy with how things are? Like, are you excited by games anymore? Or are you excited more by the prospect of revisiting old games or buying older games on sale, like from previous generations that you can still buy, and playing those, grabbing some old games? You know, if you can grab $50 and grab 4 or 5 games on sale from older generations that you might not have played, or like, are you doing that instead? Like I am. I've got games on my wish list that are like Xbox One games, you know, or PS4 games, or Switch One games, right, that I still haven't picked up yet because new games just bore me. And it's not necessarily the gaming aspect of it. It's just the prices. I don't want to spend $170 on a new game just because you've planned out a DLC package runway when you could sell that same game for maybe $120 and put all the content there. You might have more luck. You might have more people going, wow, you're telling me that you've got this entire game this entire game and these extra chapters and DLC items included in the main game itself for 120. Wow, I see the value there. But no, you want to sell $100 game and then plan a $30 expansion 5 months from now and expect the same people to double dip. Like, I understand from a business perspective, but my God, you wonder why. What's that game? What's that game of the year? Expedition 8 or 13, whatever it is. That's it's been nominated for game of the year, and there's no DLC, no microtransactions. It's a turn-based RPG, and it was made by a studio of 20 or 30 people, and it looks better than some AAA games, and it's gotten, you know, wide notoriety in the best way possible because of what it stands for. Right, it looks on par, if not better, than a lot of AAA games, and it costs $80, and it's a full experience, and it's top tier. There's no reason. There's There's constant examples that come out for games that are less, $80 or less, that trump these big $200 games. There's no reason, right? Besides ballooning costs and ballooning studios and. Anyway, I'm not going to get too far into it. It's just, it frustrates. I love this hobby so much, like the movie industry. I love movies, I love games, I love comics. That's why I talk about this stuff when I get a chance to do so. And it just frustrates me to see the industry just kicking itself in the balls all the time. You know, it's like, come on, you know, and, oh man. Anyway, I'll wrap it up here, but anyway, thanks for hanging around, and we'll just wrap up the show, shall we?